Shalom, children of the Most High. Greetings. How y'all doing? I'm doing good, thank you. We're here to study some more of the Bible. And tonight we're going to be starting in Bereshith, Genesis, chapters 13 and 14, as we continue our journey through the Bible. Okay? So I hope everybody's doing well tonight. Actually, you'll probably be seeing this during the day, because I have a tendency to do these at night. These studies at midnight, around there. That way it can upload and be ready the next morning. And tomorrow is Shabbat. Actually, it's Shabbat already because the sun's down. So we're in Shabbat. So let's get started on our Shabbat Bible study. Okay? Okay. Chapter 13. And Abram went up from Mizraim into the south, he and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with him. And Abram was very rich in livestock, in silver, and in gold, because because of the fact that Pharaoh was trying to steal his wife, thinking that it was his sister, he gave Abram all kinds of animals and men servants and maid servants and all that stuff to try to coerce Abram into blessing the marriage. When he found out that Sarai was Abram's wife, then he just told him to leave. Chased him out of Mizraim, out of Egypt, with everything that he had. And Lot. Verse 3, And he went on his journey from the south as far as Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Ai, to the place of the slaughter place where he had made there at first. And there Abram called on the name of Yahweh. Now Lot, who went with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents. And the land was not able to bear them, that they might dwell together, for their possessions were great, so that they could not dwell together. And there was strife between the herdmen of Abram's livestock and the herdmen of Lot's livestock. And at that time the Canaanites and the Perizzites dwelt in the land. Then Abram said to Lot, Let there be no strife between you and me, and between my herdsmen and your herdsmen, for we are brothers. Is not all the land before you? Please, separate from me. If you take the left, then I go to the right. Or, if you go to the right, then I go to the left. And Lot lifted his eyes, and saw all the plain of the Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, before Yahweh destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of Yahweh, like the land of Mizraim, as you go towards Zoar. So Lot chose for himself all the plains of Jordan, and Lot moved east. Thus they separated from each other. Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain and pitched his tent as far as Sodom. But the men of Sodom were evil, and sinned before Yahweh exceedingly so. And after Lot had separated from him, Yahweh said to Abram, Now lift up your eyes, and look from the place where you are, northward, and southward, and eastward, and westward. For all the land which you see I shall give to you and your seed forever. It's a long time. And I shall make your seed as the dust of the earth, so that, if a man could count the dust of the earth, then your seed also could be counted. Arise, walk in the land through its length and its width, for I give it to you. So Abram moved his tent, and went and dwelt by the Timbereth tree of Mamre, which are in Hebron, and built a slaughter place there to Yahweh. Chapter 14. And it came to be in the days of Amraphel, sovereign of Shinar, and Urach, sovereign of Elasar, Kedorla Omer, sovereign of Elam, and Tidal, sovereign of Goyim, that they fought against Bera, sovereign of Sodom, Bereshith, sovereign of Gomorrah, Sinab, sovereign of Admar, and Shemeber, sovereign of Tisboim. Remember those names. Those are important names later on. And the sovereign of Bela, that is Soar. All these joined together in the valley of Siddim, that is the Salt Sea. 12 years they served Kedorlaomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. And in the 14th year of Kedorlaomer, and the sovereigns that were with him came and struck the Rephaim and Ashtaroth Quarnarium, and the Zuzim in Ham, and the Emites in Saveh Quariathim, and the Horites in their mountain of Seir, as far as El Paran, which is by the wilderness. And they turned back and came to En-Mishpat, that is Kadesh, and struck all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites who dwell in Hatzetzon, Tomar, and the sovereign of Sodom, and the sovereign of Sodom, and the sovereign of Gomorrah, and the sovereign of Admah, and the sovereign of Tisboim, and the sovereign of Bela, that is Zoar, went out and joined together in battle in the valley of Siddim against Kedorlaomer, sovereign of Elam, and Tidal, sovereign of Goyim, and Amraphel, sovereign of Shinar, and Arok, sovereign of Elasar, 4 sovereigns against 5. And the valley of Siddim had many tar pits, and the sovereigns of Sodom and Gomorrah fled and fell there. And the remainder fled to the mountains, and they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all their food, and went away. And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and left. They kidnapped Lot and everything he had. And one who had escaped came and informed Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt by the Timbereth trees of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, and brother of Aner, and they had a covenant with Abram. And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his 318 trained servants. So Abram had his own army. He had a lot of servants, didn't he? 318 that were ready for battle, who were born in his own house. So they weren't just his servants, they were born into his house. So they were generational. And went in pursuit as far as Dan. And he and his servants divided against them by night, and struck them, and pursued them as far as Hobah, which is on the left of Damascus. So he brought back all the goods, and also brought back his brother Lot and his goods, as well as the women and the people. And after his return from striking Kedorlaomer and the sovereigns who were with him, the sovereign of Sodom came out to meet him at the valley of Shavah, that is, the sovereign's valley. And Melchizedek, that's an important name to remember. Remember Melchizedek. Put a little highlight on this part because this is important. Verse 18, and Melchizedek, sovereign of Shalom. Shalom? Shalom. 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 Peace. Brought out bread and wine. Now he was the priest of the Most High El. And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High El, possessor of the heavens and earth. And blessed be the Most High El, who has delivered your enemies into your hand. And he gave him a tenth of all. Important. And the sovereign of Sodom said to Abram, Give me the people, and take the goods for yourself. But Abram said to the sovereign of Sodom, I have lifted my hand to Yahweh, the Most High El, the possessor of the heavens and earth, not to take a thread or a sandal strap, or whatever is yours, lest you should say, I have made Abram rich, except only what the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men who went with me, and Eshcol, and Mamre, let them take their portion. Okay. When we get into the book of Enoch, you're going to realize that when we get to see Melchizedek, that Melchizedek is very unique and very special. He's from Shalom. Shalom. Salem. Okay? Peace. And as we will learn, Melchizedek was, they call it a Christophany. Okay? And what a Christophany is throughout the Bible, there are different places in time where, excuse me, Yeshua actually is on earth, and he makes an appearance as these different people, but it's Yeshua. It's the Word made flesh. So Melchizedek is the sovereign of Shalom, Salem. And he brought out bread and wine to all these guys that had just won the battle. And he was the high priest of El. Okay? What is Yeshua? Yeshua is the high priest. And will be forever now. Forever. And blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram, the Most High of El, possessor of the heavens and earth. Okay? So Melchizedek, i.e. Yeshua, blessed Abram for what he had done, for what he was doing, because Elohim had been guiding Abram and helping him along, and Abram paid homage to Elohim and prayed to him and praised him and glorified him. So Elohim has taken Abram under his wing, also because Abram is of a descendant bloodline of Adam, pure bloodline. Okay? But in return for the blessing that Melchizedek gave to Abram, Abram turned around and gave Melchizedek a tithe. Gave Melchizedek a tenth of all the spoil. Okay? So he gave Melchizedek a tithe. This is the first that we see of tithing in the Bible. Okay? It's a tenth of his increase. That's what a tithe is. A tenth of your increase. It's not a monetary amount that the church tells you that you have to give to them or guilt you into giving to them. A tithe is a tenth of your increase. Okay? So if your increase is only, a dozen eggs, that's all that you've been able to produce above and beyond what you normally do, then that would be your tithe. But if you had made above and beyond what you normally do 100 shekels, 100 pieces of silver, well then your tithe would be a tenth of that. Okay? Do you understand what I'm saying? A tenth of whatever you make above and beyond is your tithe. And this is the first that we will see of where Elohim is accepting a tithe. Okay, as we get further into the Torah, you're going to see where Elohim states, okay, this is how we do tithing. Alright? So we'll learn all that as we get further into the Torah. But for now, this is what we are seeing. And the sovereign of Sodom, shows up and tells Abram that he wants all the humans. He's going to turn them into slaves. And Abram says, no. We'll go ahead and we'll pay you for the food that we ate because we're on the road and we're using your facilities, but you're not getting the humans. Here's some extra food and stuff for what we ate, and thank you very much. TTFN. Okay? There's a lot in here, and there's a lot more to come about this story, because we're going to see there's a lot more to this, and you're going to understand Melchizedek better. As soon as we finish Genesis, then I will go ahead and we'll go through Enoch together, so that it colors in the picture for you, so that you'll understand Genesis. Then it will make sense. And then we'll go on through the rest of the Torah. Deuteronomy and Leviticus and Numbers and Exodus. Okay? And that way we're going to get a real good understanding. And as we get through the Torah, then we'll go ahead and we'll go through the other books that we're going to go through. Okay? Yasher and Jubilee. And then you'll understand all of that as well. The Torah is going to make a lot more sense to you after we get through all of that. But that's in the study to come. Right now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to leave Abram and Lot and Melchizedek to just enjoy each other's company and praise Yah. It's cool, huh? Alright, gang, well, I think that'll do it for tonight. I know it wasn't a very long study, but that's okay. It gives you something to chew on for the Sabbath. Make sure that you're observing the Sabbath. And we're going to go over all of that also as we go through the Torah, what Yahweh expects from us to observe. It's His Sabbath. It's not man's, it's Yahweh's. It belongs to Yahweh. 6 days you shall work. On the seventh is a set-apart day. Set apart means holy to Yahweh. And He wants you to rest. He wants you to take it easy. That doesn't mean that you go to the store and go shopping or go to a movie or anything like that. Because if you remember, if you've been through the renewed covenant, on the Sabbath, Yeshua took a whip to them because they were desecrating His Father's house, because they weren't observing Torah. They weren't observing the Sabbath correctly. And they were buying and selling and doing all these things in the temple. And so Yeshua went after them with a whip and turned over the tables. We'll get there. When we get into Leviticus, there's a lot better understanding of what Yahweh expects of us. Okay? Alright. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. And I appreciate if you're reading along in your Bible. I don't care if it's a KJV or if it's a Scriptures. If it's a Scriptures Bible, it makes a little better sense and it's a little easier to follow along because you don't have the crazy translations that you do in the King Jimmy Bible. Yeah, it's a thing. Okay, gang. I'm going to let y'all go for the night. Thank you. Y'all have a good Sabbath. Enjoy. And shalom.